Welcome to the Maven Imaging Operation Manual training for Voyance, but in video form, so that way you can learn at your own pace. So to get started, you probably have two Voyance icons on your desktop. You have Voyance, which is the main Xray acquisition software, and then you have Voyance Viewer, which is the orange icon. What we want to use is the blue icon. It just says Voyance. So go ahead and double click. By default, it says engineer and then password. The password is blank. The computers are password protected, but you can go in later in the Voyance settings and choose a password and a username. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to keep things the default settings. And so just go ahead and click the login button and it'll let you in. So starting from the top, you see that there are three tabs. You got the Worklist tab, the Add tab, and the Completed tab. The Worklist tab is where all the studies will be located. Studies are just your patient data that have their X-ray images. So what you'll see here is kind of like a spreadsheet of rows of your patients, and then when you select them on the right hand side here, you'll see their X-ray images. What you see below these tabs are the search parameters. You have patient name and patient ID, calendar dates, and you have a few buttons here. You have a default button, which just takes you to the previous 24 hours. You have a clear button, which removes all parameters. You have a day, month, and year. I like to use the clear button before clicking search, so that way it pulls everything in the Worklist tab. You also see a plus icon on the search. If you click that, that just gives you some advanced parameters if you want to go more in depth. So what you see here in my Worklist, these are previous test X-rays that we were doing while testing the software. But this is how it will look for you when you begin working with patients. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and click the Add tab. You see a few fields here that you have to fill out. So you have your patient ID, patient name, age, date of birth, gender, and performing physician, and a couple other fields here that aren't really required. The two main ones that are required for the purpose of taking an X-ray are the patient ID and the patient name. So I'm going to go ahead and hop on here and show you how to do this by entering some fake information. For performing physician, one thing to keep in mind is that whatever you type here is saved locally onto the software, so that way it will pop up each time going forward. So for example, I'm going to put in Dr. Parker, and when I click save, the next time I go in with a new Add tab to add a new patient, this will be listed as an option from the performing physicians. So if you click this button there on the side, it will pop up as an option. So just keep that in mind. It's just a quick way so you don't have to fill that out every time. On the right hand side, you see the anatomy chart. You have the extra small, medium, and large buttons on the bottom. Medium is chosen by default. This chart is where you will choose your positions you want to X-ray. So for the purpose of this, I'm just going to choose chest, AP, PA, lateral. You see them chosen here in the positions box. And that is it. So we are ready to begin taking X-rays. We have a few options here. Reset all will reset everything and clear all the fields and start over with the blank Add tab. Save will take this and put it into the Worklist for future use. So this is really good if you're planning. So if you are scheduling to have patients come in at a future time, you can come in here and add this information ahead of time. And that way there it'll be ready to go. Then you have Start. The Start button takes you right into the area that you can start taking X-rays. But for the purpose of this video, I want to click Save so you can see what it's like to schedule a patient. I'm going to go to the Worklist tab, and there it is right there. So when the patient comes in, this is ready for them. And basically what you would do is whenever they do come in, you go ahead and find their study, double click it, and it'll pull you into this screen here. This is the main screen that you'll be on when you're taking x-rays of your patient. On the left side is where the x-ray image will appear. This middle column here, this is the tools and image adjustment column. And you have the view and positions anatomy chart on the right. And then right here on the all the way right is where the images will appear as well. At the top, you see these two fold buttons. You can click these so that way it folds these panels and gives you a better view, at least more horizontal space if you need it. I like to close the anatomy chart view and leave the tools and images view open. In the bottom middle, whenever everything's connected correctly, you will see ready for exposure. So whenever you're ready to expose, we can go ahead and begin that process now. So with the position selected, go ahead and position your patient and then take the exposure. Okay, image came in, looks good. And so let's go ahead and continue. I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next, position your patient, exposure. Go to the next, expose. Okay, so you've taken the 3 x-rays you wanted to take, you positioned your patient and took these exposures. So now you have the x-rays and you're ready to go. So the image tab, you'll see the position that you've chosen. You have soft and hard buttons. The soft button is a soft preset image processing algorithm that works best for soft tissues. The hard preset image button is an algorithm showing more of the bone. And you have the sharpness, contrast, and brightness adjusters. And then here you have the grid settings. You have none, vertical, horizontal, and auto. Down here you have a graph that has 2 sliders. These sliders adjust the brightness and contrast to help improve and pop out. Say you want to see the bones better. This will help you do that. So you can actually manually adjust by using these sliders here. So that's basically how to use that. There's also an invert checkbox. This is also really handy if needed. And before we move on to the Tools tab, one last thing is, you notice that it has your view name. Well, you can change the body part view, etc. by clicking this pencil button, and you can change it here. If you made a mistake, you can go back and change that. Okay, now let's move on to image tools. If you look here at the column, you see a bunch of different tools to use, similar to other image processing software that you've probably used in the past. So this is to go full screen, and to go back, you can see in the top right, you want to click that button to go back. This is the selection mode. This is the screen layout. So if you wanted to do a side-by-side with the top image and the image below it, we can do that by clicking the vertically splitted 2 images here, and it will show you those 2. And if you want to do the one in the middle with the one on the bottom, just click that. And to go back, we select that and go back to the single image. You can rotate clockwise, counterclockwise. You can reset zoom if you zoomed in too far. So like if you scroll upwards with your mouse, you can reset the zoom by clicking that. You can flip horizontally, flip vertically. You can control the window level tool. By selecting this, this allows you to adjust the contrast. So if you With your left mouse button, click on the image and then move to the right and left. Sometimes this gives you a little extra control. Then you have the crop tool. I'm just going to go ahead and make a little crop there. To apply it, hit the enter key on the keyboard. You have the angle tool. I don't know, I'm just using it there. If you need to delete, you can go to the selection mode tool, select on it there so it's highlighted, and press the delete key on the keyboard. Distance tool. So for the distance tool, you want to left click on the mouse and drag, and then let go. Just remember to hold the left click down. You have your R label, left label. And when you apply this, you can move them around with that. You can adjust the size with the right box here by going left and right. And if you want to delete, press the delete key once it's highlighted. Same with the other tools here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you have the free text label tool. So if you want, you can add whatever you want, a comment anywhere. So we'll put that label down, click in there, test label. And you can adjust the size on the right side here by clicking and dragging to the right and left. And you can also spin it around if you want. And you can move it wherever you want to. You also have a reset image button. So say you want to go all the way back to the default, remove every adjustment that was made for both the image processing and the tools. It just takes you right back to square one. Go ahead and click it and I'll show you. There you go. Now we're right back to square one. Say you don't like this image and you want to delete it. There is a trash can at the all the way bottom right here. So click that. You can choose to reject it or delete it. To reject, you can choose a rejection reason, or to delete, just hit the delete. And there, it's gone from the study. If you accidentally delete an image, don't worry because it's not actually deleted, it's just hidden. Click the edit button and select show deleted shots. And there they are. And you can recover by clicking this button here to restore image. If you look at the top here, you see the thumbnail area tools. If you're using a touchscreen, you can select multiple images by selecting the multi-selection mode, and this will allow you to choose to highlight the specific images you want to highlight. If you want to use your keyboard instead, you can also do the same by holding down the Control key and selecting the images you want. If you want to stitch together two images, select the two images in the study you want to stitch, and you notice the tool becomes clickable for stitching here. You can actually click and drag if you want. If you want to stitch together images. Now this isn't a good example with a foot, but if you had a spine or something and you took multiple X-rays going up and down, then you can actually get a full view of the spine using the stitching tool. Then once you're done, click save and it will save it as its own stitched image. And there you go. But I don't want that, so I'm going to delete it. On the all the way right hand side, you see some more tools. You have the Send to PACS node tool. This is the remote PACS node. So that's handy if you need to send it off. You got an email button that's not highlighted because it's not configured. I will go over that later. You have an export button where you can export to somewhere on the computer if you need to. It exports these as images or DICOM. So I'll kind of show you that. You can choose the type of format. You can include image overlays. This button says selected images only. You can do all images of the study, and then you can choose the path here by clicking there and navigate your computer, and then hit OK, and I'll go over that later. If you have our desktop, it should come equipped with a DVD-RW drive. This means that it can handle any of the file formats: CD-R, CD-RW, DVD-R, DVD-RW. Once you put those in the disk drive, you should be able to burn the disk here. And when you do that, it will prompt you what you want to burn on the disk. So it's just like the export tool, where you can choose the type of files you want. I like to choose DICOM and JPEG together. And then you can select images, or you can do all images. You can include image overlays before format the disk. Then you can create a PDF report. You can output the file by clicking this and choosing somewhere on your computer you want to send to. You can include image overlays if you want. And you can choose the Include tab to include more information. You also have Print Selected Images. There's an Action button here, and that's for running pre-customized processes, which we rarely use. You have an Edit button, and this will send you back here so you can edit the information if needed. Pause the study and complete the study. So now that we're done with the study, we'll go ahead and mark it completed, and I'll show you what to do. So on the bottom right, you see the checkbox that says done. Go ahead and click that. And you can choose selected images only or all images. I'm going to select all the images. The servers, the Voyance vPACS by default should always be checked. And then if you have any remote PACS servers, you can check them here as well to send along at this time. This checkbox is so if you do this continuously and you never make any changes to this, and you always want to send all images to Voyance vPACS, you can check this box and hit OK, and this won't come up anymore. But I'm not going to check that. I'm going to hit OK. And you'll see downloading images at the bottom, uploading image. Now that study is going to be in the completed tab. And as you can see, you still have the same tools over here on the right. You can open it back up. Same tools. But now there's a different option. So all these tools are the same. Before it was marked complete, but one, the Activate button. You can reactivate the study if you need to add more Xray images. So let's go ahead and click Activate. And now it's basically in the Worklist again. You can go ahead, open up the anatomy chart, add another view, and take your exposure. And then I'm going to click Done again. But this time, I'm only going to do the selected image only. It's just that one image. You don't want to repeat send images that were already sent. So just make sure you just send that one there. Hit OK. If you want to compare two completed studies, you can do so by holding down the Control key. So select your first one and then select your second study. And you notice on the right that the Compare button is now clickable. See that? So go ahead and click Compare. And so now you can compare both of these studies side by side. And when you're done, click the checkbox. I'll take you right back. If you're an emergency type of situation and you don't want to spend the time adding the patient ID and name and positions, the fast way to get in is by clicking the emergency button that's down here at the bottom. Clicking that button will take you right into the Xray module. At this point, you can begin taking X-rays without designating the view or body part. And then once you're done, you can actually add the information you want to. So you click the edit button, and then you can put the patient's ID, name, and other information. If you need to change the position, the view, you click the picture and then hit the pencil here, and then you can change it here. To get back to the main menu, you just click the main button down here at the bottom left, and it'll take you right back to the software here. And if you want to go back, you can jump back. You can see the open studies by the blue color, but you can also down here click them. You can bounce back and forth. If you have multiple studies open, you can bounce back and forth this way. So let's open them all up. You notice all these are blue now, and if you click here, you can see your open studies and you can jump between them. If you're curious to see where your images were actually sent to, there is a last sending column on the completed tab, and you see these two dots. You click that and it will show you what images were sent to where. So here it was sent to the local VPACs, but if you had a remote node, a remote PACS, a radiologist, or somewhere that you're sending the images to, you will see their server listed here as well. And then the checkbox means it was successfully sent. Now to go over the Voyance pop-up menu, if you look on the bottom left, you see the logo, go ahead and click it, and you'll see several options here. You have the settings, help, report bug, remote help, statistics, update, about Voyance, restart, shut down, log out, and exit. The main thing under the hood of Voyance here that we use with this pop-up is going to the settings. These are just the settings under the hood of Voyance, where you can fine-tune the settings of the software. This is usually used by administrators or us Maven imaging staff whenever you have issues. But for the purpose of this training, I'm going to go over the settings. So it automatically has the main tab and the worklist layout selected. This worklist layout is for the worklist tab. You can actually deselect the columns. So if you don't want, so say you don't want the session number, you don't want the species, breed, owner, etc. You can do that. You can actually deselect them here, hit OK, and then let's restart the program, and you'll see that the options here would be missing, like a session number. So hit it. All right, so you see that those columns are now gone there. Let's go back to settings. You also have a configuration backup tab. This is backed up every day. You can see the previous backups here and where they're located. You have the screen tab. This is what you see on the Xray result page. Let me hit cancel here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So what you see here in the top left, right, bottom left, bottom right, that is on the screen tab for the info labels. So say you don't want the exposure deviation 0% and the exposure actual and target, you can actually remove them by clicking here, remove, 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 and hit OK. And now they're gone. You can also change label font size and just make any other adjustments that you want to make here on the screen. You can, if you click the miscellaneous tab, you can change from imperial to metric. You can change the tool colors, line thickness, etc. So for example, say right now our tools are blue, so I'm gonna say we want to turn this a different color. Let's make it red. So we gotta choose red for all. 5. And now the tools will be red. And if you want to go back, change a different color, you can change them back. The general tab, this is just for again, this stuff's just under the hood stuff that no one should be adjusting. These are all default settings. The local image folder is under the C drive, under the images folder. And then it gives you the database connection string and the lifetime years for the studies. You have a user's account tab. This is where you can actually add your own user. So if you don't want the engineer username, if you don't want the engineer account with no password when you first log into Voyance, you can actually create your own here. And you can designate what kind of account you want to be. Do you want to be a user, administrator, engineering? The difference is that the user account is a restricted account that they cannot adjust these settings. So, and the administration and engineering can adjust these settings. So I'm going to make this a user, hit OK. I'm going to go ahead and log out, log in to Maven. I'm going to put in the password I use. Now we're under the restricted account that I created. So I'm going to log out, go back into engineer, log in. Going to delete here. Okay, in the license tab, this is for internal purposes for licensing. Institution, you can change the name of the institution. By default, it's Voyance, but so say you can put in the name of the company, and here's where you can delete the physicians that were entered on the Add tab. You can just go in and delete them here. You have the System Info tab. This just tells you the information for the computer. Click the Patient tab. This is an important tab because you can add your own views. So on the screen here, so say here you have the positions, PA, or AP, PA, lateral. You can go in and add more by going to the Patient tab, Body Part View, scroll down, New View, and Test. All right. And then I'm going to make sure that I make test included. So you see here AP, PA, lat, test, hit OK. And now you see it's an option. So these are included by default here. You see AP, PA, lat. You can delete them if you want to. And you can add more by default. So if you wanted all of these by default, you just click include. And of course, you can add your own. You can create a body part view group. If you tend to choose the same views over and over and over again, you can just make a button so that automatically pulls in the views. So for testing purposes, I'll show you. I'm gonna hit add group. I'm gonna name it normal set. And I'm gonna choose the views that I normally use. And then I'm gonna click add group. You'll see them here, hit OK. So now whenever you go to the add tab and you click chest, You see the option there, click it, and it will pull in all the views that you normally do. Under the View Settings tab, it just shows you the typical dosage for the particular body part. On the Study tab, this is the default export path. Now in the Communications tab, this is a big tab here. This has a lot of information, so I'll go ahead and get started here. You have the DICOM and local node. This is your local AE title. The default port's 105. You have your remote nodes. The Voyance VPACs will be listed in there by default. If you ever run into a communication issue, so say a test remote node and it comes back that it was unsuccessful, you can change 127.0.0.1 to localhost and then hit test, and that usually fixes it. You have a few checkboxes here. You have upload to the server by default, upload completed studies to the server, use implicit little Indian coding, enable future edits, burn measurement tools, burn patient information and labels, and upload shots in separate series. These three are checked by default. You can leave the others unchecked unless otherwise needed. Okay, to the printing tab. You can choose default print node and go more details here. Study uploading. You can check do not ask for servers each time, and it will not prompt you to, whenever you complete a study, it will not prompt you to what servers to send to. Same with study completing. Study uploading and completing, both the same. And then you have the email tab. This is where you can configure an email account to send studies to, from rather. So you can actually create your own email account somewhere and configure this with that account. So say, for example, you want to create a dedicated account for this. So you go to gmail.com and sign up for a free account. Okay, I'm going to walk through the entire process of creating an email address and then entering that information in Voyance. So I went to google.com and found the Gmail link. And basically you can just go to Google and type in Gmail or create Gmail account. It'll take you here. So I'm going to click the create an account button on the top right. And here I'm going to put in we'll see if that's taken. Pretty sure it will be. Okay, guess it's not taken. You have to enter a phone number. And then from that cell phone number, you have to put in the verification code. So for this, I tend to just, I don't really put in my personal information, but I do put in a date that I'll remember. Okay, now I'm in my Google inbox here. So I'm going to grab my email address and I'm going to open up the communications email tab here. Put in the password. Send test email, see if it works. Failed to send. Okay. The reason for this is Google's now requiring you to make a change to allow less secured email access. It's really frustrating, but I'll show you how to fix that. So to do that, you got to go to myaccount.google.com/less secure apps. And then you have to enable this setting there. And then I'm going to go back to Voyance, send test email. Now it works. So I'm going to go back to my inbox, and there's the test email from Voyance. If you have enabled two-form authentication, or 2FA for short, you'll have to do a different setting than this to get it to work. So you actually have to create an app password for Voyance in your Google account. To do this, you want to click the Google Apps button, which is these 9 dots here. Click your account. This will take you into your account settings. You want to choose security on the left-hand side here. And then if you have two-step verification on, this will be enabled. So I'm going to go ahead and enable it just to show you. Okay, I'm going to put in my code. Okay, now two-step verification is enabled. So I'm going to go back. All right, so now we need to make an app password. Right below two-step verification, I'm going to click app password. So I'm going to go through this. I'm going to select the drop down here. I'm going to choose other. I'm just going to name it Voyance. I'm going to hit generate. This is the password now that you will use in your Voyance software as the password. So I'm going to go back to Voyance. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it here and hit send test email. And there you go. Now that Voyance is configured for email, whenever you select a study, you'll notice the email icon is highlighted. If you click it, you can now choose the patient, radiologist, or yourself to send an email to. I'm going to send JPEG, all images, hit OK. And you'll see at the bottom, exporting image. Sending email. Your email was sent successfully. So now I'm going to pull up the browser here, and that's what it looks like. And back under the email tab, under the sending and address book tabs, you now notice that the email I just sent it to, which was myself, is listed under the address book. So any of the emails that you send images to will show up here under the address book. You have the external service tab. This is not needed. You have Worklist icon, local node, remote node, search filters, and DICOM mappings. None of this you should need. The only relevant thing would be search filters. And by default, the search filter schedules out 24 hours. If you want to change this, you can change it to however many days you want. So we can go back 7 days. Okay. Then we'll hit OK. And you notice now the default is 7 days. The hardware tab, this is your panel. I'm using a simulated panel right now, but this is the panel settings. If you notice on the bottom right, you see the keyboard. If you click that, that will pull up your on-screen keyboard if it's needed. So you want to be able to pull up your studies from, say, a lobby computer or your office computer. There's a version of Voyance that is limited functionality in terms of it's not the acquisition version, but you can make changes to the images and mark them up using Voyance Viewer. Voyance Viewer is usually installed by default on your main Xray acquisition PC, but you can install Voyance Viewer yourself by going to medicatechusa.com/Voyance and look for Voyance Viewer latest release. So once you download and install that and open Voyance Viewer, so say you're on your office computer, you're at the front lobby computer, front desk computer, you can still pull up studies. If this comes up, you hit the update license, and what you need to do is run the command and get the IP address of your main Xray computer. And paste it for license server, hit connect, and there you go. Now it's registered. This wraps up the training video. I hope it was very informative. I tried to cover everything. But if there's anything I missed, or if you have any questions or concerns, if you would like on-the-fly training, if you would like your more of an in-person training experience, you can always call the 1-800 line at 1-800-949-8015. And if you'd like to schedule, coordinate over email, if that's better for you, you could email us at support@mavenimaging.com. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.